Okay.
Okay, so we're recording. So, hi, Haleh.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on. This is my new pet project, and I really appreciate you coming on. So,
Yay.
we're here to share with the world our wisdom because we feel like we've earned it. And I'm asking just a very simple question, and I know you and I have kind of talked about it, so I know maybe you've thought about it a little bit. This question was inspired by one of my colleagues who is 20, and she was kind of asking, like, she wanted to know what advice would we give her. And I thought, wow, that's a great question to ask. Like, it's a great
Mhm.
question to contemplate and consider. What would you tell your 20-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
Okay. Okay, well, was I was very lost, and I was a person who shouldn't have been lost. Like, I didn't think I should be lost, but I would say up until almost 30, I was like just the whole, I think you had mentioned it before, that whole what is my purpose thing.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I felt like I didn't have until I graduated college, so that was about 22. And then I got real hooked into like wanting, like thinking that I needed to know what my purpose was.
Hmm.
Like, and that's still something that I don't know. And I'm almost I'm like 47, and I'm okay with it. I think that the difference between that time and now is just acceptance of not knowing what my purpose was. And I'm a person who stayed as true to myself as I possibly could have at 18. I studied something I loved. I didn't make that choice. But then when I graduated, I had an art degree and no like job in my field because
Mm-hmm.
there weren't, like, believe it or not, as an artist graduating art school, there aren't these jobs out there. Like, they didn't tell me that. That's one thing.
Uh-huh.
Another thing is, I and I have talked to older artists. Artists don't really have a sense of experience until they've lived a little. Like, even my content and my eye, like the mature eye sees things and expresses things differently than a 20-year-old eye, believe it or not. Even though like you're in your prime in some ways, but then maturity wise and wisdom wise and even just detail wise, there were things that I would miss, or not even, it would be not on my radar, that I can see differently now. And I'm not talking about so much art as much as everything. So I think that there is an acceptance that comes with growing up. And the lies that I think I told myself that I would tell myself differently now is that you don't, it's not supposed to be clear. Like, none of that stuff is supposed to be clear. I mean, you know what gave me real good support for myself is when I found out that Jesus didn't even get it together until he was like 25 or 27. I mean, if
Yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
doesn't have his shit together, why should I? And like, why should our teenage selves? Or, I mean, I honestly felt like a teenager until I was like 30. I feel like even
Hmm.
with all the self parenting that I did, it was, I mean, like, honestly, listen to that. The self parenting wasn't like happening anyway. Another thing I will say, and I think that it's so wise of your friend to ask you for these answers. Find a mentor that you admire.
Yes.
Like, that's not your
Yes.
mom. That's not your mom. I mean, your mom is your mom, and she's going to give you this sort of the same flavor of growing up. I felt like I was in search for a mentor that I really respected, and I liked her life. And I used a lot of other women, even 20s, 30s, 40s,
Mm-hmm.
as my like role model. It didn't matter how old or how young they were, but they had to be a little bit further than me. And so I utilized them and I modeled after them and I looked at their marriages when I got married, or I looked at their way of living, and I accepted it. And I have to say, for somebody who graduated with an art degree, I ended up working in a bank, and my ego did not like that. They thought, like, I think my inner child or whatever thought I was such a failure because I worked at a bank,
Yeah.
which was the opposite of what I was
Yeah.
supposed to be. Those supposed
Yeah.
to be doing. And I accept it now, and I'm only like halfway through my life,
So
hopefully.
working at the bank, I mean, you know, when you're in the middle of it and you're in your 20s and you have this idea of what you're, like you said, what you're supposed to be doing, like I need to be working in my career when your eye wasn't even ready yet. Did I freeze? Okay, let me see if she's going to come back.
I lost you for a minute. Can you
Yeah,
repeat what you just said? Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, working in the bank was, when you're doing it in your 20s, it feels like such a failure. But
Yeah,
as you said before, like, your eye wasn't even attuned yet or mature yet to be working in the artistic field.
no,
You still
no,
needed to live a little before you could really apply your artistic abilities in the field of art.
exactly,
And it's
exactly.
and what happens, I think, for many people, and like you said, we still do it, is that we torture ourselves when it's really just working in the bank. We'll use it as a symbol. You're just sort of like biding your time until your eye matures so that you can do your art. We
Yes,
just sort of
yeah,
like spank ourselves and torture ourselves because we think we should be doing something else.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
yeah. And I did. I mean, I can still do that, but I did it a lot more when I was in my 20s.
of
That
course. So
conflict and yeah,
advice advice number one, bullet point: don't spank yourself for being where you're at.
no,
Yeah.
I yeah, and talk it out. I mean, if you have to be that annoying person that just follows people around and say, "How did you do it? How did you do it? How did you do it? Your life looks so good." And honestly, you'll get some clarity too that you're comparing so many things of like the things that are going on in your inside with something that looks maybe a little bit better on their outside, and it's not a lot of times accurate. It's just life, it's
Yeah.
just life.
Can we talk a little bit about working with a mentor? Because I've had several different experiences with mentors. And what I used to do was I would look at these people and I would like get stars in my eyes and I would romanticize about how everything's awesome in their life and I want to be just like them. But really,
Yeah,
I missed out on the piece of they, like you were saying, I was only seeing a part of their life.
yeah, yeah,
And I wasn't really being realistic of all the steps that they had to take to get where
yeah,
they're at. Maybe they worked in
yeah,
a bank for 10 years and they hated it. Like, if
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
romanticizing, especially a spiritual mentor or spiritual guru,
yeah,
it's really just sort of keep an eye on putting these people on pedestals because
yeah,
we're all, even gurus, we're all just winging it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Not that I'm a guru, but
yeah,
even someone who claims to know everything or looks like they have their shit together, we're all just
yeah,
winging it. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I do think having a mentor or someone you can talk it out with, I think that's great. That's a
yeah.
great idea. Great piece of advice.
My mentors were never perfect either.
Oh,
I mean, like, I don't know. I would find people, and at least they would tell me the whole story a lot of times, not just the
right.
glitzy. You could tell they weren't perfect, but where they landed was a great example. Like where they were landing right now was a great example. I mean, I remember one mentor was a minister, but she had an aging husband and like issues, but I liked parts of her. So I took
Yeah.
those parts and like adopted them.
Well,
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, that's good.
let's
That's good.
tease out that one little point there. You can have someone you admire, but just admire one aspect of their life. Like maybe
Yeah,
someone's relationships are to shit, but their
yeah,
careers are pretty spot on what you would like you're like, "Oh, they have what I want."
yeah,
It's
yeah,
okay to kind of pick and choose like parts
yeah,
of people's lives. You don't have
yeah.
to take the whole package and um want to emulate their all aspects of their life.
Yeah, no, no, and it's impossible. You can't, or else you would be born into their. I mean, you'd be their clone. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's another like really honoring our own unique and authentic self. So, and just like how normal it is. I mean, yeah, this whole thing of just I feel like we're still when we're in our 20s a metamorphosis. Like you were talking about your milkweed,
Yeah.
we're still that goopy, unrefined, not yet a butterfly. And unfortunately, butterflies are the last stage of life. I mean, like you don't
Yeah.
become a butterfly until way later.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right? It's like, it's just, if we could just use that acceptance and fake it, maybe fake it till you make it,
Yeah.
and I mean, so what if you're like a barista? Actually, now that I'm 47, I would like to be a part-time barista. I
Yeah, I
think that
hear
that
you.
would like fill me up. I just think that
Yeah.
sometimes the ego is so strong, especially if you were born in a family that told you you had to succeed and know what you wanted, even if you didn't know. And so that's what I grew up with, and I had to really fight myself a lot, and I don't want to pass that on to my kids. So
Yeah. You've got a daughter who's she's a little bit
12.
away from 20.
Yeah.
Um she's a little bit
She
away from
suffers. She
yeah,
suffers sometimes. Yeah.
sure. I mean, we wish the kids did our children didn't have to go through the struggle and the pain that we went through,
Yeah.
but I don't know, maybe that's just what makes up life. Maybe that's what gives us the ingredients so that we can become these butterflies. Or
Yeah.
I always really consider us late bloomers. Like who's going to bloom at 18? You know?
I don't know anybody who is. I mean, it doesn't match the time of our life.
Yeah.
I think it maybe looks like something, but it's not a thing. It's not a real thing.
Yeah,
I don't
it's just
know.
like it's just like 1 million likes on Facebook. It's really not a thing. It's
It's
not,
not a real thing.
it's
It's
not
not
a
for real.
real thing.
Yeah.
That's so
I
funny,
mean,
Haleh.
and so anyway, I just think you're doing the best you can. If you got up, oh, and I did have a friend, early 20s, who said, it's okay to just look at your pulse all day sometimes. It's okay to just do nothing. And nobody ever
Yeah.
told me that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told me that it's okay. And this pandemic has kind of forced us to just do nothing. It's okay to do nothing. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't, it gets old actually. Doing nothing gets old and then you will do something, but just to trust
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes. Wow,
So,
this was
and
great. Yeah, anything else that you would tell your 20-year-old self?
oh gosh, even though it's a good habit, you don't have to kill yourself with exercise and diet. I mean,
Ooh.
it's always a
Yeah.
really good habit, and I mean, I had that habit and I struggled with my weight in my 20s. Even though it was a good habit, don't punish yourself that way, because
Yeah.
it all works out in the big picture. You
That's
figure it's
right.
another form of maturity and you figure it out and you're like, oh, I did do that starving thing and that didn't work. Maybe I won't starve myself. It's
Yeah.
just like not. And I love that our new women are not buying into that
Yeah.
bullshit,
Yeah.
because it is bullshit.
Yeah.
You are fine. Like, I
Yeah. Thank
can't
you.
say you are all fine no matter what. And I love Lizzo because she's making it okay to be not a size zero. So, and all
Yes.
the women out there, even the Kardashians who,
Yeah.
but they're helping
Yes.
change things. You can
Yeah.
keep that in or not. I don't care. That's
That's
my thing.
perfect. No,
Yeah.
that's perfect because really, I mean, when you look back on your life, like you're like you said, late 40s, I'm early 50s. Like when you look back on your life, I'm just like, what did I gain? How did it serve me spending all that time and energy stressing about my weight? It gave me nothing, nothing except
It
just
didn't.
another way to punish myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Just
another way.
trust your body. It will figure itself out. It really does. It's nature is awesome. It figures
Yeah.
itself out. So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, my
Okay.
friend, thank you so much for being on with me and sharing your wisdom. I just really appreciate it. Thank you, Haleh.
Yay.
Thank
Love
you.
you.
Love you
Okay.
too.
Bye.
Okay, bye.